Welcome back to our channel. Today, we bring you an inspiring story that shows how determination, dreams, and dedication can change a person's life, and even change the world. This story is perfect for learners and structured like a graded reader to improve your English listening and understanding. Chapter 1. A boy named Barack Obama was born on August 4th, 1961, in Honolulu, Hawaii. His full name was Barack Hussein Obama II. His mother, Ann Dunham, was a white American woman from Kansas. His father, Barack Obama Sr., was from Kenya in Africa. Barack's parents came from two very different worlds, but they shared a love for learning. Barack's father left the family when Barack was just 2 years old. So Barack was raised by his mother and his grandparents. His mother was very smart and hardworking. She taught Barack to value education. She always told him, "You can be anything if you work hard and believe in yourself." As a young boy, Barack loved books. He read stories about great leaders and dreamers. He wanted to do something important in life, but it was not always easy for him. Barack often felt different because of the color of his skin. He was not white, and he was not fully African either. He had to learn how to be proud of who he was. When Barack was 6 years old, he moved to Indonesia with his mother and stepfather. There, he saw many people living in poverty. He saw how hard life was for some children. These experiences made him think deeply. Even as a young boy, Barack started to wonder, why are some people poor and others rich? He began to ask questions that would shape his future. Later, Barack returned to Hawaii and lived with his grandparents. He studied at a good school. He was smart, but sometimes didn't try very hard. He admitted later that in his teenage years, he was confused and sometimes made mistakes. But one thing stayed the same: his desire to do something meaningful. When Barack was older, he moved to Los Angeles to study at college. Then he transferred to Columbia University in New York City. There, he studied political science and learned about history, governments, and how countries work. Barack started to think, maybe I can help people. Maybe I can make a difference in the world. This was just the beginning of his incredible journey. Chapter 2. Finding his purpose. After graduating from Columbia University in New York, Barack Obama didn't choose a high-paying job like many others. Instead, he made a bold decision. He wanted to work in communities and help people who were struggling. He moved to Chicago, a big city in the United States, where many people, especially African Americans, faced problems like poverty, unemployment, and broken schools. Barack became a community organizer. This was not an easy job. He worked with churches and local leaders to help poor neighborhoods. Many people didn't trust him at first. They asked, "Who is this young man trying to change our lives?" But Barack listened to them. He walked through the streets, knocked on doors, and talked to families. Slowly, people began to trust him. They saw that he truly cared. This time in Chicago changed Barack's life. He realized that helping people gave him meaning. He saw how hard life could be, but he also saw hope in the eyes of children and strength in the hearts of everyday people. During this time, Barack also felt that he needed more tools to help people in a bigger way. So he applied to law school and was accepted at Harvard Law School, one of the best schools in the world. At Harvard, Barack became the first black president of the Harvard Law Review, a big honor. This made national news. People started to notice him. But Barack remained calm and focused. He was not chasing fame. He was chasing purpose. After finishing law school, he returned to Chicago. Many people would have chosen to stay in big cities like New York or Washington. But Barack chose to return to the place where people still needed help. He worked as a civil rights lawyer. He defended those who didn't have a voice. He also taught law to students and kept helping in the community. During this time, something else wonderful happened. He met Michelle Robinson, a smart, strong, and kind woman who also believed in service. Michelle was also a lawyer. They fell in love and got married in 1992. Together, Barack and Michelle became a team. They both wanted to make the world a better place, not just for themselves, but for future generations. By this time, Barack Obama had already touched many lives, but he still had a dream to bring change, not just in one city, but in the entire country. Chapter 3. Entering Politics. The beginning of a bigger journey. Barack Obama had seen the struggles of the people. He had walked beside them, worked for them, and listened to their pain. Now he wanted to do even more. He believed that real change could happen through laws and leadership. So, in 1996, Barack took a brave step. He ran for the Illinois State Senate. It wasn't easy. He was still young, and many people didn't know his name. But Barack wasn't afraid of hard work. He met people door to door, listened to their problems, and spoke with honesty and hope. His calm voice and clear message touched people's hearts. They saw someone who truly wanted to make life better, not just talk about it. And then, something amazing happened. Barack won. He became a state senator. It was a small step, but a powerful beginning. As a senator, Barack worked for healthcare, better schools, and fair laws. He believed that every child, no matter where they came from, deserved a good future. He didn't shout to be heard. Instead, he built relationships. He worked with people from different parties, even those who didn't agree with him. People noticed that he listened more than he spoke, and when he spoke with wisdom. But Barack wasn't just thinking about Illinois. He was thinking about the whole country. In 2004, he decided to run for the U.S. Senate, a much bigger role. Again, many thought he couldn't win. But Barack believed in something greater than fear. He believed in hope. During this campaign, he gave a speech that changed everything. It was at the Democratic National Convention, and it made people across America sit up and listen. He said, "There is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America." That line touched millions. It wasn't just political, it was personal. People from every background felt inspired. They saw someone who could unite the country. Barack won the U.S. Senate seat. Suddenly, he wasn't just a local leader. He was a rising national voice. But with greater power came greater responsibility. As a U.S. Senator, Barack kept working hard. He visited schools, hospitals, and disaster zones. He talked to soldiers, teachers, and everyday citizens. He didn't forget where he came from. And in the middle of all this, he made a historic decision. He would run for President of the United States. It was bold. It was risky. Many thought it was impossible. But Barack believed in something that had always guided him: hope and change. This was the beginning of a campaign that would shake history. Chapter 4. The Road to the White House. A historic campaign. In 2007, Barack Obama stood before the world. and made an announcement that echoed across America. He was running for President of the United States. People were surprised. Some admired his courage, while others doubted his chances. After all, he was still young, relatively new in Washington, and trying to do something no African American had ever done before. But Barack wasn't running for himself. He was running for the people. He believed that America needed a new kind of leadership, one that came from understanding people's struggles, not just from political experience. He promised change, and he promised hope. His campaign slogan was simple yet powerful. Yes, we can. These 3 words became a movement. People from small towns and big cities, from every walk of life, joined his campaign. Young people who had never voted before now stood in long lines just to hear him speak. Volunteers from all over the country knocked on doors, made phone calls, and wore shirts with his name. They believed in him because he believed in them. Barack Obama's speeches were not just about politics. They were about dreams. He talked about a mother working 2 jobs to feed her children, about a soldier far from home, about a student drowning in debt. He spoke of unity, not division. He reminded Americans that no matter their race or background, they were all part of one nation. But the road to the White House was not easy. His biggest opponent in the Democratic Party was Hillary Clinton, a strong, experienced leader who had been First Lady and a U.S. Senator. The race between them was tough and often very close. But Barack remained calm and respectful. He didn't attack with anger. He spoke with vision. Slowly, people began to believe. They saw in him a leader who could bring real change. State by state, vote by vote, he gained support. And finally, in 2008, Barack Obama became the Democratic nominee for president. But the real test was still ahead. Facing Republican candidate John McCain, a respected war hero and senator. The campaign became more intense. America was facing a serious economic crisis. People were losing their jobs and homes. They wanted someone who could lead with strength and compassion. Barack Obama traveled across the country, meeting with workers, families, and leaders. He spoke about rebuilding the economy, creating jobs, and bringing troops home from war. He also picked Joe Biden as his running mate, a man with years of experience in government. The final weeks of the election were filled with emotion. On November 4th, 2008, history was made. Barack Obama was elected the 44th President of the United States and the first African American to ever hold the office. Crowds filled the streets. People cried, hugged, and cheered. In Chicago, Barack stood before thousands and said, "This is your victory." It was more than just a political win. It was a moment of hope. A moment when America looked forward, together. Chapter 5. Leading a Nation. The first term. Barack Obama stepped into the White House during one of the toughest times in American history. The country was in a deep economic crisis. Banks were failing. Businesses were closing. Millions of people had lost their jobs and their homes. The hope that had helped elect him was now being tested by reality. But Barack Obama didn't panic. He rolled up his sleeves and got to work. One of his first major actions as president was to introduce a huge economic recovery plan. It was called the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. This plan helped save jobs, build roads and bridges, and invest in clean energy. It wasn't perfect, but it helped stop the economy from falling further. Slowly, the country began to recover. He also made history again by signing the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. This law helped millions of Americans get health insurance, especially people who were sick or poor and couldn't get coverage before. It was a big change, and not everyone agreed with it, but Barack stood by it because he believed healthcare was a right, not a privilege. During his first term, he also focused on education. He wanted better schools for every child and supported programs that rewarded good teachers and improved learning. Environment. He supported green energy like wind and solar, trying to protect the planet for future generations. Equality. He spoke out for the rights of all people, including the LGBTQ+ community, and helped end a law that had banned openly gay people from serving in the military. But perhaps one of the biggest events of his first term came in 2011. For years, the world had been searching for Osama bin Laden, the leader of the terrorist group behind the 9/11 attacks. After careful planning, Barack Obama gave the final order for a secret U.S. military mission in Pakistan. The mission was dangerous, but it was successful. Osama bin Laden was found and killed. This moment showed Barack's leadership, calm decision-making, and courage under pressure. It was a powerful moment for the nation and gave people a new sense of justice and security. Despite his successes, not everything was easy. He faced a lot of criticism and political opposition. Some people believed he was doing too much. Others said he wasn't doing enough. But through it all, Barack stayed focused. He listened, he learned, and he kept moving forward. By the end of his first term, the economy was healing. Millions had health care, and the country had a new sense of dignity and direction. In 2012, he ran for re-election. This time, he faced Mitt Romney, a businessman and governor. The campaign was tough, but once again, Barack connected with people. He spoke not just as a politician, but as a father, a husband, and someone who understood everyday life. And once again, the people chose him. Barack Obama was elected to a second term as President of the United States. Chapter 6. A Legacy of Leadership. The second term. Barack Obama's second term began with both hope and new challenges. He had already made history by becoming the first African-American president. But now the question was, what kind of lasting change could he bring in his final years? He began by focusing on issues that touched millions of lives. One of his biggest goals was immigration reform. He believed in giving a fair chance to people who had lived in America for years, worked hard, followed the law, and wanted to become citizens. Though he faced strong political resistance, he acted through executive orders to protect young immigrants, especially those brought to the U.S. as children, from being deported. This action gave hope to thousands of families. Barack also turned his attention to climate change. He knew the planet was in danger. Storms were getting stronger. Weather patterns were shifting. Ice was melting in the Arctic. In response, he helped lead the world into the Paris Agreement, a global plan where countries promised to reduce pollution and protect the Earth. This showed that the U.S. could lead not just with power, but with wisdom and responsibility. In his second term, Barack also became more vocal about race and justice. After a number of high-profile incidents involving police and African-American citizens, the country faced painful conversations. Protests spread across cities. People cried out for change. And Barack, as the first black president, carried the weight of these conversations. He spoke calmly and powerfully, encouraging understanding, justice, and unity. He said, "We need to see each other not as enemies, but as fellow Americans." One of his most emotional moments came after a tragic school shooting in Newtown, Connecticut, where 20 young children and 6 adults lost their lives. Barack spoke with tears in his eyes. He tried to pass stronger gun laws, but again faced strong resistance. Still, he never stopped speaking up for the safety of children and families. Meanwhile, the economy continued to recover. Unemployment dropped. Stock markets rose. Millions of jobs were created. Though not everyone felt the changes equally, the overall direction was upward. And Barack often reminded the nation, progress takes time, but together, we can achieve it. Internationally, Barack took bold steps. In 2015, he reopened relations with Cuba after more than 50 years of silence. This was a major historical shift. Families were reconnected, and travel between the two countries began again. He also reached a nuclear deal with Iran, aiming to prevent war and encourage diplomacy. But despite his efforts, not everyone was happy. Some critics said he was too careful. Others said he changed too much. Barack faced political battles every step of the way. But he always responded with grace. He didn't shout. He didn't blame. He led with calm and dignity. As his second term came to an end in 2016, the world watched as a new chapter in America began. But before he left office, Barack gave one final speech. In it, he reminded people of everything they had achieved together, not just him, but all Americans. He said, "Yes, we can. Yes, we did." He left the White House not just as a president, but as a symbol of hope, strength, and resilience. But Barack Obama's story didn't end there. Chapter 7. Life after the presidency. A new chapter begins. When Barack Obama left the White House in January 2017, he walked away from the world's most powerful office, but not from his purpose. He wasn't just a former president now. He was a global icon, a symbol of possibility. And though his time as president had ended, his work had not. First, Barack took time to rest and reflect. After 8 intense years, he finally had quiet moments with Michelle and their daughters, Malia and Sasha. They traveled, enjoyed private time, and focused on each other as a family. But even in those peaceful days, Barack was already planning something bigger. He and Michelle launched the Obama Foundation, a nonprofit organization focused on building future leaders. They believed that the next generation could make the world better if they had the right tools. Through programs and partnerships, they began helping young people in America and around the globe to learn, lead, and serve their communities. One of their biggest dreams was the creation of the Obama Presidential Center in Chicago. It was more than just a library or museum. It was a place for education, dialogue, and action. Barack wanted it to be a place where people, especially the youth, could come together to solve real-world problems. Meanwhile, Barack and Michelle both became best-selling authors. Barack's memoir, A Promised Land, was deeply personal and thoughtful. He shared his journey from a young dreamer to the Oval Office. It inspired millions. Michelle's book, Becoming, was equally powerful, especially among women and young girls. She talked openly about her struggles, her strength, and her journey. But Barack didn't stop there. He began giving speeches across the world, encouraging leadership, kindness, and unity. He often spoke about the importance of truth, education, and democracy. He reminded people to stay involved, to vote, and to never give up, even when things seem hard. Barack also embraced modern storytelling. He and Michelle signed a deal with Netflix to produce documentaries, movies, and series. Their goal? To share stories that inspire, teach, and entertain. One of their first projects, American Factory, even won an Academy Award. Even after leaving office, Barack continued to speak out during major events. He addressed racial injustice, climate change, and the importance of science and facts, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. He never used anger or division. Instead, he used calm, clear, and powerful words to unite people. What makes Barack Obama's story so inspiring is not just that he became president. It's that he never stopped serving. Whether as a leader, author, father, speaker, or mentor, he continued to help people rise. Barack Obama's life reminds us that no matter where you start, whether in a small apartment in Hawaii or as a mixed-race child in a divided world, you can dream big, work hard, and make a difference. And as we end this incredible story, we leave you with Barack's own message. The future rewards those who press on. I don't have time to feel sorry for myself. I don't have time to complain. I'm going to press on. If you found this story powerful and inspiring, then make sure to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories that help you learn English and learn life. The Graded Reader Way.